the presentation. And also with us today, we have got Fiona Dawson, who is our National Head of Colour and Design for Taubmans. And Fiona will be talking you through the exciting element of colour. So the areas that we'll cover off today are why a manufacturer's coating specification is important, what that's used for, and we'll also talk about the introduction of colour to yourselves and to your committees. And we'll also talk through about what we do to help you organise all the way through to the execution of your repaint projects. So without further ado, let's get cracking onto our first slide. So the first step that we take when it comes to the organisation of your repaint projects is we would talk with you guys as the strata managers. You'll generally give us a call when you know that there's a repaint project on the horizon. And our first stop that we would make is to contact and then go on ahead and meet with your committee representative on site. So that we can have a detailed look at the building. The main reasons that we do this meeting is so that we can see the building, have a look at the different substrates that we have there, have a chat with the committees to find out if they know of any problems that they may have had with the building previous to then. The kind of things that we're looking out for there are cracking that may have happened from concrete cancer or just in the render. Paint fading and minimal repair kind of work. We also want to have a look and identify for non-structural substrates, which may be things where you've had issues with balustrades that are maybe loose or those kind of things. Importantly, things like movement and water ingress are quite a big concern. And once we've had a look at the building and taken note of the different substrates or problems that we've got, that's when we can start talking to you and recommending the right types of people that you'd need to engage. And that could be people like project managers for those much larger schemes. It could be a building engineer if you need to have a full building report done, or it could be some form of remedial builder, depending on the kind of work that's involved. And then we sit with you and select the right painters that are going to be best for this type of work. So regardless really of the size of the scheme, it's just important to have the right people, the right painters, the right project managers, or the right builders that are there on hand ready to help with work if it needs to be done prior to the repaint. Now, there are times when we go out on site and there are no structural buildings or structural repairs that need to be done to the building. So if that is the case, then we'll just have a look at what needs to be done repaint-wise. We'll talk about colour at that stage, and then we'll start with the tender process for you. So, and all you have to do really is to wait for those quotes to come through at the end for those repaint projects. So we can just move over to the next slide. So when we're talking about the coating systems, this is really important so that you have the longevity of the paint and it performs to how it's supposed to. So when we're on site and we're talking to the committee about the repaint project, we also put together a very detailed coating specification. And that really is a recommendation of the right products to be using on the various substrates that make up the building. So we have to look at things like the surface compatibility and just making sure that the paint system adheres properly to substrates like concrete or render, or there may be repaired surfaces as well. But when we do that and we have a look at the right products, then that will prevent issues like peeling or blistering that can be caused by incompatible products. We also have a look at the right types of products in terms of primers and sealers and top coats for the surface conditions which support then the long-term performance, especially in the harsh environments that we have, like our coastal environments or our industrial estates or even city environments. You'll find that there are different products that we use for each of those different areas. The way that the product is applied is absolutely crucial. So in our scope of works and specification, we really highlight how the paint or the applicator needs to prepare the surface. We look at the film build as well of the product to ensure that that's in line with the standards of the manufacturer. We also have a look at curing and drying times, and we also have to have a look at the environmental conditions. So what we don't want is people painting in the rain, because that can cause real problems out on site. I don't know of the painters that we use and recommend for you guys. That never happens because they understand how important those elements are. We also really make it clear in our specifications that things like common problems that can occur, we want to reduce the risk of coating failure due to poor preparation or the incorrect mixing or unsuitable environment conditions like we just mentioned with the rain, because those kind of things that happen out on site can have an effect on creating moisture entrapment or efflorescence and early degradation to the paints. We also provide warranties to our products, so making sure that the warranty is compliant by following approved systems and processes means that the building is eligible for the manufacturer warranty, which is around 10 years, sometimes longer, but the warranty lasts for about 10 years on average. And that warranty really protects the stakeholders from liability and ensures that the recourse if issues arise. And then lastly, the finish and the aesthetic quality of the products, once they've been applied to the building, can really deliver a professional, uniformed appearance across all the surfaces. What I mean by that is that there's no patching, there's no line marks where rollers have been used. Everything is beautifully finished, especially in the commercial or high visibility areas. It's important that the building is finished to a really top quality finish. So we can go to the next slide. Fiona, I'm going to hand over to you now to talk about colour.
Thanks, Vanessa. So I am Fiona, the National Colour and Design Manager, and I'm going to talk to you about colour. So colour for your building is not a one-size-fits-all approach, and we like to take the time to ensure we suggest suitable schemes that work with your fixed elements, ensuring a fantastic overall result. Because white is a colour that is utilised in almost all applications, we thought it important to educate on whites and how they work, as all whites are different. So white starts out as a brilliant white base with the addition of varied tints to create cool, warm and neutral whites as shown on the screen. Understanding the variances that make up our whites is paramount to ensure your colour scheme is suited for external application. So this leads into why some whites look far more appealing than others, and then the reverse, whites which are blinding and not inviting. So hence ensuring we select a white that is suitable for each individual project. And ensuring that it'll work with your fixed elements and most importantly, be able to handle sunlight, as whites have a tendency to lighten up around 30% in full sun. So we're going to explore that a little bit further. So whites, and in fact all colours, have what is referred to as an LRV. So what is LRV? It refers to how light or dark a paint colour will look on a scale of 0 being black, as you can see on the screen, and then white being 100. So the higher the LRV, which is light reflectance value, the lighter the colour will be. And so if the colour is too light and doesn't have, let's say, enough tint or substance to your white, it will potentially be way too glary, which is not what we want to achieve. So you can see on screen here. So let's look at brilliant white. So as I mentioned earlier, and we're going to compare it with the #1 white that's being used externally, which is Colorbond Surf Mist. It has an LRV of 66.97 or 67 versus 92. So you may look at the colour on the screen and think it certainly does not look white. And that may be the case. However, once you place it outside, sunlight tends to play with our colours, and this particular colour does look white. So it's understanding how whites perform in an external application is crucial. And look, we take all of this into consideration when we're recommending suitable colours for your buildings. So here's an example. So look, we believe that collaboration between your team and ours is the key to creating tailored and successful colour schemes for each unique project. So to support this process, we offer a rendering service that helps you visualise our proposed concepts. So if desired, we also provide paint deposited samples, commonly known as brush outs, which are essential for accurately assessing colour, as printed or digital representations can differ from the real thing. So on screen, you'll see a colour scheme specifically designed to complement the aesthetic of this building. This is accompanied by a digital render to bring to life the scheme, and then as well as a detailed colour schedule which outlines the colour placement. So our goal is to make the colour selection process as seamless and as inspiring as possible. So here's an example of colour now being applied to this building. So it started out, as you can see, as that yellow sort of tone. We did a, let's say, a colour consultancy, provided some renders, and it's starting to take sort of shape. We think it looks fantastic. And again, look, here's another example illustrating how the building is brought to life through the carefully selected colours included in our sort of tailored colour offering for you. And I think that's me, Vanessa. I'm going to hand back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona. So when we are at the stage where we've organised the colours, or at least had a conversation about what colours are going to be suitable, we've created the coating specification, which is the recommendation of the right products to use on the right substrates. We then have a look at which contractors or painters are going to be best for each individual job. So why qualified contractors and manufacturers specifications matter. So we've talked about the specification. That's absolutely crucial for the performance of the paint and the longevity, but also using the right contractors is important as well. So licensed contractors with references that we've used before, that you've used before, that we know are capable of doing a fantastic job are the first point of call. What we don't want to include is maybe Joe Bloggs who lives down the road, who painted someone's internal ceiling that somebody else thinks might be a good recommendation. That's not the kind of person that we would look to for external repaint projects. And we have to make sure that they do have the right licenses, the right references, and understand safety and compliance as well. Contractors that we know, that you know, all follow the manufacturer's specification, and that's important when it comes to reducing the errors and being called back where systems or application hasn't been correct. So the main benefits of using the manufacturer's specification are, this is for a painter, it gives a clear coating system for the contractors to follow. It also helps if everybody's pricing from the same specification, it should streamline the variation that you have within quotes. Because I know of quotes that have been hundreds of thousands of difference in terms of dollars. And it's very difficult to break down why there's so much variant in there. So if everybody is quoting from one specification, then it should, in theory, streamline those quotes, making much less variance. And it also supports, like I've mentioned before, the warranty compliance and the long-term performance. What you don't want is for your committees to have spent the budget on the repaint project only to find problems like a year or two later because there's been inconsistencies with the way that the products have been applied. Specifications and scope of works are really important and very detailed for all of those reasons. So if we can just click on to the next slide, Fee. Thanking you. So step 3, so we talked about step 1 as being the first point of contact for us and for you, and where we meet with your committee representative out on site to have a look at the building and talk about the colours. The step 2 was to go through the actual specification and have that out to tender to applicators that are going to be correct for the job. And then the third step is protecting your investment and job completion. So when the job is in process, when the repaint is in process, we don't want to be the paint police and constantly going out on site to make sure that everything is being adhered to. The contractors that we use, we know and we trust do the job correctly as it should be done. So we're always there on day one just to make sure that site is ready, that products are in place. Sometimes there may be a call for extra products that we'll have ready for the trades, ready to start. The workmanship warranty is provided by the trades at the end of the job, and so is our coatings warranty as well. The actual maintenance plan comes right at the very end. So once the repaint project is complete, there's been a sign-off and a handover, and warranties have been given, then the painters or the contractor will talk to you about the maintenance, or talk to your committees about the maintenance plan and the aftercare. So you have a place to go. You can contact us, as in the manufacturer, and you can also contact the applicator. It would be the applicator who would put the maintenance plan together based on what we recommend. So as a general rule of thumb, when it comes to the end of a repaint and 12 months goes past, then it's important to have your first site visit with us and with the applicator, just to see if there's anything like mold growth. And again, this is all about where the building is positioned and the environment that it's in. As you have those more coastal areas, it's important to look for mold growth and those kind of things. But a repaint, not a repaint, a wash down, you don't need repainting every year, but the wash down is part of the maintenance plan. And that is really dependent on how the environment is going with the building. So like I said, there'd be a site visit after 12 months, and it will be based upon that site visit. If there's no problems, the building looks beautiful and it's absolutely intact as it should be, then there may not be a need to have a once every 12 months wash down. It may be a wash down as and when it's required. So it could be 3 years from the day that the building is painted, or from the day that it's finished, rather. And it really does depend on the environment and what we find at these yearly inspections. And the aftercare plan will be put in place by the contractor as well. If you can go to the next slide, Fee. So some of the key points that we've talked about today is talk to us early enough so that we can make the necessary arrangements with your committees. It's generally your committees that we work with throughout the entire project. Right from the very start, right through to the very end when warranties are given. You have a point of contact. You have me as your point of contact and the team that we have here throughout the project for you guys or for the trades as well that are out on site. The reason, or one of the main benefits of having all these systems in place, is it saves you time. Because sometimes it can be quite tricky to organize and execute a repaint project. There's a lot involved, and it may be easier within your day for us to deal with all of that chasing up and answering any questions from the trades or the committees. We do all of that for you. Your committee have continuous support from day one as well. And we like to have an open channel of communication. So you're free to give us a call whenever you want to see how things are going, or we would update you as well on how things are going, as would your contractor, throughout the entire process. And then do we have another slide? Oh, end of our slides. So questions are important. So I hope it makes sense that everything that we've spoken about today. So those just to reiterate, those 3 fundamental areas are, first of all, the site visits and opening out the committee. The second one is creating the specifications and going through the colour. And then thirdly, the tender process and a contractor instated. So does anybody have any questions that we can answer for you?
Nobody's got their hand up, I don't think. No. No. Is it always white? Like I've noticed that a lot of buildings are white and grey, charcoal these days. Is that just a fashion or is it here to stay?
I would say it's not a fashion, it's here to stay. And it just depends on the area. Like when you're looking to develop a colour scheme, it depends on the surrounds. And for example, for us, let's just talk Queensland being coastal, a lot of strata buildings, so near the water, etc. It seems to predominantly be that beautiful soft white, but it's really important to get that right white. And as I mentioned before, like leveraging the LRV to ensure that we've got that right, it's got enough substance so it's not going to be blinding. And then obviously working with existing elements. So finding that right toned white, it may tend to have a little bit more warmth to it if we're working with, for example, cream style windows or something like that, or quite the reverse. If we're working with, say, blue window frames, we might tend to look at something that's slightly cooler. But yeah, white's here to stay. I think white's very much a very, how do I say, it's very much loved Australian colour, so to speak. And then we might, offset that with some other sort of beautiful tones.
Yeah.
But yeah, white's a thing. We're seeing a shift in whites. We're seeing them start to be warmer because of that beautiful modern Mediterranean aesthetic that's trending. But again, when you're doing a repaint, etc., you're working with the elements that exist. So it's just finding that right white.
Yeah. It just reminds me of like years ago, I was working in a warehouse and the warehouse was going to be repainted, which we were all all the staff were excited about. So we came in on Monday and the whole building was red.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it looked good, but it was apparently they were just meant to paint the front.
Oops.
But they did the whole building this like fire engine red, but that was a warehouse and it was sort of like hidden in an industrial area, so it didn't matter too much.
You could handle
I think yeah.
Transform a building, it really can, and that's why we like to talk about colour on site with the committees, because there'll be times when committees want to stick with the same colour that they already have, and that's fine. We'll do colour matching, but there's always lots of times when they just want some ideas put forward to see what would be suitable for their building, and that's when me and Fiona really get together and start thinking about where the building is positioned, i.e. city or coastal, and really bringing together some really beautiful colour schemes to transform back to the committees to see what they think. And much of the time we'll have an end decision is made where everybody is happy. Sometimes we tweak things a little bit. If we need to, might change one or two colours to suit. And that can be done at any time. And we don't charge for any of these services either. This is all a free of charge service that we offer to to committees and to strata managers. It's just part and parcel of what we do.
Yeah, I like the way you have the digital, like this is what the building will look like, because I think that, for a lot of people it's hard to imagine. When you're talking about different shades of, I didn't realize there were so many shades of white, by the way. But, when you're talking about different shades of white and then, mixing a mid grey and a charcoal grey with it, and not only that, where the colours are placed as well. I think that's, that might be hard for some people to kind of visualize, but if you'd actually, here's a picture of your building, this is what it looks like now, and this is what it would look like painted. I think that'd be pretty awesome, actually.
It's like the try before you buy, because what we don't want is someone to commit to a colour, then it goes on the wall and nobody likes it. So before we get to that stage, we'll make sure that we've got the sample pots and hopefully an area of wall that we can paint the colour out onto. And if that's not possible, then we'll use big pieces of MDF and roll the colour out onto that. So that people can really see it in daylight. But like Fiona said earlier, we have the A5 brush out cards as well. And that is the actual paint brushed out onto A5 pieces of card. And so and they're left with committees, and we're there as well, talking about holding them in the sunlight, making sure that the sun is on them at the time, because it's very difficult to get an exact color where everybody's 100% happy all the time. Things are tweaked and changed, and it can look different in the shade as opposed to the bright sunlight. So those brush cards are really valuable. They just really help to concrete decisions.
Yeah, I didn't realize like it's sort of obvious, but not obvious. You know, the thing about the light reflectivity of the different colors, etc. And it actually explains why my neighbour hasn't painted their brand new concrete fence yet, because I can't decide on the color.
Yeah. It happens regularly, and that's why the sample pots are really important as well, because it's great if we can. Most committees will give us a tiny piece of wall to brush the paint out onto, so that all the residents, all the committees come down and have a look and see what it actually looked like before they commit to the actual colours. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's an awesome service, and of course, you know, knowing like you said, you know, kind of checking out the building too, and just seeing that, you know, if you want to spend all this money, it's like it's more than just the color. It's like making sure that you get a good result, and that it kind of lasts until the next time you have to, you know, repaint the building, and it doesn't start peeling and
using the right
cracking and
products
stuff
on the right substrates is really important. That way you get the longevity, the paint performs how it should be performing and lasts. Then it's expensive.
And the paint itself doesn't kind of change color, because that can happen too, can't it? Like and it might. I think that's great. That's an awesome service. Like absolutely fabulous. It's like, you know, if only you could do that with your house. Someone could go, you know, this is what your house is going to look like when we paint it.
Well, that's when you come and talk to us, and we'll speak to Fiona and see if we can very kindly create some overlays for individual homes as well.
We might have to, actually, because I don't think my husband can continue to go up the ladder to paint a 5-meter wall for much longer. So that's great. Thank you very much for that. Doesn't look like we have any questions. We just see.
I hope everyone found that helpful, useful, have learned something maybe today. That's the intention. So
great. Awesome. Thank you very much, ladies. That was great. Like I said, Joe, I think that getting some professional painters next time, but and maybe our neighbour needs some help with choosing colour.
Always happy to help.
All right. So thanks very much, folks, for attending.
Everybody.
We have recorded this session. We will make the recording available to you, and if it's all right with you, ladies, we'll upload this into YouTube as well to share with the rest of our membership, so that, you know, they can find out a little bit more about that. I think it's great. Like, there's stuff there I didn't know about. Like I said, didn't realize there were so many shades of white. Thanks again. Don't forget to let me know if you've been screen sharing, because we won't see you on the attendance list, and we will see you next time. So thank you very much, ladies.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.